All right. Well, thanks for sticking around. We talked about what streaming services we use, how we stream them, and you get a little more insight into us. But I thought for the post show today, we just talk for a few minutes about some of the stuff that we have been streaming lately or is on our list to stream. And Jason, I'll just kind of start through my list because some of this is going to overlap and I'm going to try and guilt trip you so we can actually talk about some of these shows that
Right,
we've been
right.
waiting on. But so the first one, and this was great that we had Paramount Plus. Thank you, Wyatt, for paying for it right now. But a couple of weekends, 2 or 3 weekends ago, the kids went to visit some friends of my daughter. So it was just
Mhm.
Karen and I was like, "What are we going to do?" And she's like, "The possibilities are endless." And
Right.
what we ended up settling on, we actually did kind of a Mission Impossible binge. So I hadn't watched any of the Mission Impossible movies since the first one.
Okay.
And so then it took a few minutes to try and figure out which ones do we watch and what order do we watch them in and all that kind of stuff. And so we watched Ghost Protocol,
Mhm.
Fallout, and the one right before
Is it
Fallout,
Rogue was it
Road
Rogue
Nation.
Agent?
Road
Rogue
Nation.
Nation. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we
Which
watched
is
those
probably the
three,
best one, I think.
and I might have been mixing them up, but anyway, we watched that, and that's how I figured out what Paramount Plus does, right? Which is they give you those 2 or 3 minutes worth of ads at the beginning, and then you watch the show, even if you pause, right? It doesn't pop up a movie or a ad or anything when you come back from a pause and stuff. And so that was really good. I actually watched part of Fallout again while I was down on my little retreat thing down at the trailer. So
Mhm.
downside of the tier that we have there, because we have the commercial tier because we just didn't need, I mean, for soccer it doesn't matter because they don't
Right.
interrupt soccer games the same way they do other stuff. But um so yeah, so that was great to do that. So good movies. I'm waiting for Dead Reckoning Part One to hit Paramount Plus. It's not there yet,
Okay.
so we'll watch that one too when it comes out.
So you mentioned how you binge Mission Impossible. So I do that too. I don't just binge shows at the end of the season. So the new Ghostbuster comes out. I watch all the Ghostbusters. You mentioned watching the Indiana Jones. I'm gonna go and binge. I'm gonna start from the first one and watch all of them. The lead up to the. So I'll binge the movies too.
Cool.
So yeah. So I'll be doing the same.
Okay, so here's a little bit of a sidebar. I was living in Texas when all of the Harry Potter stuff was so big, right? In
Hmm.
fact, I still remember my wife going and grabbing the last book for me. And I remember where I was when I read it and when I finally stopped to actually get a couple hours of sleep so I could finish it the next day.
Right.
Anyway, the movies were coming out, and I had this idea to rent a theater for 24 hours. Just
Okay.
rent the whole theater for 24 hours and just play the Harry Potter movies from start to finish and end the
Right.
seventh movie at 11:59 p.m.
Right.
so that we
When the
could
new one when it
start the
releases.
eighth one the next day and charge people a ridiculous amount of money to come in and
Right.
watch the shows, right? That was my idea because I thought that would be really, really cool. I actually did go back through and binge watched. Um, I skip a little bit, right? Because I don't have the patience to deal with the stuff I didn't like, but went through
Hmm.
and did all of the Harry Potters a couple of months ago. Kind of just
Right.
watched them all in sequence because we actually have all of them. Um, so anyway, yeah, pretty cool.
So the Santico movie theater here in Tomball, right
Oh,
down
favorite
249.
theater down
They'll
there.
do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they do that. They'll, Batman comes out, they'll play all of the Batmans. They'll, Spider-Man comes out, you can go in and pay for one, two, and three, and then watch the fourth one or something like that.
yeah,
So they actually do that.
that's cool. I started some Stargate stuff again, partially because when I want to go down and ride the indoor bike, I do about a 45-minute ride.
Hmm.
And so I need to pick an episode of something,
Right,
right? And Stargate's not something Karen cares about at all.
right.
So yeah, that's something that I can watch while
Which
I'm
one?
riding.
SG1 or
I grabbed a couple of SG1 episodes. Atlantis is still my favorite. I'm just
okay?
Atlantis is all the way my
Yeah,
favorite of all the series. So I wish they had not taken the writers away and put them on Universe because I I know
Right.
you liked Universe, but I did not.
Yeah,
So
it was really good, really good. I hate that it ended after what was it 2 or 3 seasons?
yeah,
That had some real potential.
yeah. Recently wrapped up Ahsoka, which is guilt tripping you because I can't talk about it until you
Yeah.
actually go in and watch it. It was really good. I won't spoil anything. Um, but what I liked about this is it didn't end with what you would assume it was going to end with. You know, the big everything has to turn out really well for the good guys and really bad for the bad guys, right? You assume
Okay.
that it's going to end up that way. And it didn't have this massive cliffhanger,
So
right?
that's what I was going to ask you. Did it because you know they're all supposed to be connected at some
Yeah.
point, right? Because this is Star Wars, right? It's the Star Wars universe. So they're supposed to be connected, and they're building to that with these next few series that are coming up.
Yeah.
So did it leave off? Not you're not going to have answers to something for another 3 years, or did it end? Okay, so it felt like a decent.
It felt like a good spot, right? And by cliffhanger, I mean that the lightsaber is about to slice through the good guy, and they pause it and
Mhm.
say, "Tune in next season." That kind of stuff. No, they didn't do that.
Okay, so none
But
of
it
that.
also didn't end up with happily ever after kind of thing, right? So
Okay,
I really enjoyed that. And The Mandalorian's done a little bit of that. Some of the seasons carried over into the next one, and you needed to go watch the beginning of the next one to catch on, but others didn't.
yeah,
So yeah, Ahsoka's recent, Mandalorian, of course, all of that kind of stuff. Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, I thought was fantastic. Boba Fett was always my favorite Star Wars
right.
character. So these next two though are freebies. So I don't know if you ever
Okay,
watched the original Leverage series. Um, if you didn't, you should watch that. And then you should watch Leverage Redemption, which is the follow on series on
okay.
that.
That's
And
James Spader, right? Is it James Spader? I believe that's okay.
Noah
Then I'm thinking of a
Wiley,
different show.
Noah Wiley is in Redemption.
Okay.
Carter from ER. So he's
Hmm.
in Redemption, but he was not in the original one. The It's interesting on Freebie. A lot of these things cross. Like Noah Wiley's in the Librarian series and the Librarian movies, which are totally cheesy, but were pretty fun to watch. But Elliot in Leverage Redemption is the muscle, right? He's the fighter.
Yeah.
And he's in this next series called Almost Paradise, which is also a freebie one. And these are ones Karen watches with me, Ahsoka even. But Almost Paradise is another freebie one. He's retired from the DEA because he had some nervous issues, and he's living in the Philippines and getting sucked into trying to do trying to live his life in the Philippines and getting pulled into a bunch of stuff. Anyway, I mean, it's not the
Okay.
highest end. It's none of that kind of stuff, right? None of these productions are. But anyway, I really like both of those series, and those both come from Amazon Prime.
Okay.
So Santa Claus is 2 is on my list. So I love the original Santa Claus movies. I didn't watch the one with Jack Frost, Martin Short. Yeah. I
Yes.
didn't watch that one, but I love the movies. And the first season of the Santa Claus I thought was really good. So that season 2, it's dropped. It's on my list. I just haven't had a chance to watch it because it's one Karen wants to watch with me. So,
Okay.
and then these next two I think are on Hulu, and it's Alone and Mountain Man. And I'm a big outdoors guy.
Yeah.
And Alone, they basically drop 10 people in this remote area miles away from each other, and he or she who lasts the longest wins the money, right?
Okay. They have to
And
find each other, or
no, they
you
are
just
not
have to
allowed to
survive.
do that. So they just have
Okay.
to survive. And so there's this whole thing about qualifying to be a part of it. And the one year they actually did, if you could go over 100 days, you win $500,000 or $1 million, whatever it was, instead of the normal prize money, to
Hmm.
try and get somebody to not just win, but to go the full 100 days. And because basically, if you're the last one standing, as long as you make it one more night than the person before you, you win. And it could be
Okay.
short, it could be
Do you know
long.
when the other people drop, or
No,
no?
you do not.
Okay, so you don't know if you're quitting first, or
Nope.
if you're 10 days past the last person. Okay.
Yeah, you won't be 10 days past the last person, because if it's not like that one season when they said you had to go 100 to get the $500,000. That was a few days after the one before had dropped. But on all the rest of them, the next day they will tell you that you're done and let you pull out. And
Okay.
a lot of times they'll fly a family member out there and surprise them at their camp. So,
Okay.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
having to build shelter, you're having to figure out how to find food. The guy that won the last season that I watched, and I'm always a season behind because they are on TV, right? And then they come on to streaming a season later. But the last guy that won actually didn't even bother to try and do food, didn't bother to make a fire and maintain a fire. And those are two pretty calorie intensive things to do. He just
Right.
basically, and he didn't bother to boil his water, just drank the raw water straight from the river and laid in his shelter, 24/7, all that kind of stuff. And he ended up winning.
Right.
And he's the first one that's ever done that.
Oh, he won.
Yeah,
Taking the easy route.
yeah. The guy that won the 100 Days one had a pretty nice shelter. But one of the reasons he won, they don't get a lot of big game. It's
Okay.
usually rabbits and squirrels and fish and that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
and you have
But
to hunt your own.
oh yeah,
You have to hunt.
oh yeah,
Okay.
you got to
Wow.
build your own. You get 10 survival items and your clothing and your sleeping bag and that kind of stuff, and then you build your own shelter. You got to find your own food, all that kind of stuff. And one guy killed a moose one year. He ended up winning. Almost didn't win because moose meat is so lean that he didn't have
Right.
enough fat, and they'll pull you out medically, right?
Okay.
If you're
Yeah. Yeah.
lose
So
too
if you're
much weight
not
and
getting
stuff.
enough.
But
Yeah.
the guy that won that 100-day plus one killed a muskox, and
Okay.
he was out.
With what?
Well, he one of his items he took was a bow. That's one of his survival items that
Okay.
he took, and you can't take a gun, but you can take a bow. But he was out hunting and only had a couple of arrows with him because usually they're hunting for grouse or stuff like that, small game.
Yeah.
And so he shot the muskox and ran out of arrows, and the thing wasn't dead. It was just
Right. So
standing
you
in
have
the
to let
middle
it
of a
bleed out.
clearing, and when it gets dark, the predators come out,
Yeah.
and so he couldn't just let it stay there. So he was had his knife and he was running in and stabbing the muskox and running away until
Yeah.
it died. So,
Okay.
but anyway, so I
I was
love that
wondering, like, how
show.
do you take out a muskox
Yeah,
with one arrow? You have
yeah,
to just track it till it bleeds out. But yeah, I
yep,
guess that he just went and stabbed him until he. Okay.
yep. So anyway, that's that one we watched together. Like I said, it's always a season behind, and then we watch Mountain Men, which is more of a documentary
Hmm.
on folks that live off the grid, and they follow several families. Like this last season we watched, they followed a mom and her daughter who were the dedicated hunters for a tribe in Alaska, and so they get the permits and they can go out and get as much big game as they can, and they bring that back in and they distribute it to the tribe. And
Yeah.
but one of them's a craftsman up in Montana. Anyway, it was really good. Those are shows that I watch with Karen. Those are on Hulu, I think.
Okay.
So so super super good. We used to have Discovery Plus. We used to get
Yeah.
it free, and then that expired, so we turned it off. But then you could watch the more recent stuff on Discovery Plus because that's where it usually is.
Okay. You ever watch that show 30 Below? Is it 30 Below or six? I think
Yeah,
it's 30 Below.
similar thing, right? Where that's the
Yeah.
people that live in below freezing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, same concept.
We like that. Me and Wendy both watched that show, and then they had like a spin-off kind of season and all of that. So yeah, we
Yeah,
like that.
you might like Alone or Mountain Men then. So,
Okay.
and then this last one I'll mention, Monarch Legacy of Monsters. So this is
Yeah.
the first Apple TV Plus show that I've made it more than one episode in on.
Right. It looks
And
amazing.
it is really good. I won't spoil anything, but
Yeah.
I was talking it up so much. I watched both episodes. The first episode I watched in the hot tub while I was down in St. George,
Yeah.
recovering from a massive bike ride with a big spider. Um,
Yeah.
but But so I didn't know if Karen would like monster shows or not, and so she was asking me about it, and so she ended up watching the first two. The third one's out. The fourth one will drop tomorrow. I need to get caught back up on it, but it is really good so far, and it's jumping between time periods, right? It's
Yeah.
jumping between the present and um, back when they were first trying to discover what the radiation
Okay.
readings were and all of this kind of stuff. And so it's jumping between these two time periods.
Okay.
And I understand in the third one they actually show part of the 2014 whatever it was, one of the Godzilla movies. They're just
That was gonna be my question. Was there any crossover
they're
with the movie?
showing the scene from a different perspective, but you can tell that apparently that it's the same scene.
Okay.
And so yeah, so I'm really liking that show, and of course the production value is just off the
Yeah.
charts. I was watching it on the crappy TV on my phone. It was okay, but it was small, right? And then I
Right.
watched the second one on the crappy TV in the trailer because it's junk. I'm excited to watch 3 and 4 on my 75-inch
Right.
4K, but I got
Yeah.
to make sure the kids are in bed because they won't do well. But it isn't just the monsters showing up, right? They're talking about the science for how they were discovering them and tracking them, and all of this
Okay.
intrigue and secret organizations and all of that kind of
Okay.
stuff. So
Yeah.
I like it.
So a
I
lot of the
hope they
lore
don't.
from the MonsterVerse, yeah.
I hope they don't turn it into something I won't watch.
Right. So that was gonna be my question, was there any crossover? Because like I said, the show looks amazing. So being able to seamlessly integrate parts of the movie in the TV show lets you know how good this show actually
Yeah,
looks,
yeah.
from a production standpoint. So
It gets my approval so far. And there were others like I'll just mention this one because I ended up stopping watching it. So, Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan is a book series.
mhm,
It's like 14 or 16 books long, and they just get longer each book.
yeah,
And there are so many main characters that by the time you get like halfway through the series, you're having a hard time keeping track of main character threads. So, Amazon bought the rights to it, similar to what they're
mhm.
doing with the
Lord of
Tolkien.
the Rings and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the Tolkien
So
stuff.
they
Yeah.
bought it, and the production quality. I watched the first couple of episodes. Again, this is my favorite book series of all time, and they just turned it into something I couldn't watch. They pulled too much modern
Right.
culture and modern stuff into it and tried to make it too edgy, in my opinion. I don't know if people will agree with that or not, but that's my opinion. And
Yeah.
so I stopped watching it. And so I'm just here going, don't do this with Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Please don't do it with the Lord of the Rings stuff when it comes out, because it's just like the Star Wars stuff. Whether you like the new Star Wars content or not, the
Mhm.
production value and the production quality
Yes,
is
it looks
so much
amazing.
better than the original Star Wars,
Yeah.
right? It just is. And so I just hope they don't ruin Monarch. It's
Right.
good so far. Don't ruin some of these other shows I'm watching. The Star Wars stuff, I worry less about them pulling in the edgy stuff. They just don't do that, right? Oh, I did finally watch what's the other one? That everybody said was so good for Star Wars. Um Andor.
Andor, that one, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I did get that one in. I
Okay.
did squeeze that one in, and it was really good.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really good. It took
I
me a minute to
I
get into it, but
so I don't like the fact that Rogue One killed these characters off, right? Or
yeah.
killed Cassian and Andor off, because now I want more. So now, even if they do a second season, which I believe they are, it's still a prequel to Rogue One,
Yeah.
right? I want to see them build this character well beyond that. Now you
Yeah.
can't, they can go in and be like, oh, they were beamed up by,
Are
and
we going to
there's
have
no
a
beaming technology, and
are we going to have a
in
Star
Star Wars.
Wars multiverse?
Yeah, yeah, something weird like that. No, they shouldn't have killed that character off. I don't think they realized how lovable this guy was going to be as a Star
Yeah.
Wars character. So, yeah, yeah, I did squeeze that one in. It is really good. Did you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a
So,
good one.
the thing is, and I want you to take some time here too, but the thing is, I like the Star Wars stuff because it's pretty safe, right?
Right,
I don't have to worry about over the top language or over the top scenes or things that don't need to be there that I
right,
don't enjoy, right? And I'm not
like the
judging
recent
anybody.
Star Trek shows.
Yeah, I'm not judging anybody. Star Trek went in that direction. I mean, Star
Right.
Trek was not like that, but they went in that direction. And so the Wheel of Time, what they did with that, there were hints of it in the book.
Hmm.
That was not how the book was
Right.
written.
They didn't play out like they did it
Right.
on the show. Right.
So, anyway, so that's why Star Wars is pretty safe. That's why most of what Disney does is safe. Now they own Fox, and they've got some edgier stuff, and
Yeah.
they're going to merge Hulu straight into the Disney app. That's something that they've
Okay, good.
announced, and so because they bought out the rest of it from Comcast, so they own it, so they're going to
Okay.
merge that in. So you
I
got
didn't
a
hear
little
that.
bit
That's
of
good.
that, but yeah. Anyway, all right.
So I'm
Talk
assuming
to
that's
us.
coming next year, the merger?
No, later this
They didn't
year.
give a
I think they've
timeline?
already beta tested it. They've already got some beta
Okay.
testing out, so it's coming soon.
Okay. So
Yeah,
Hulu is not gonna be Hulu, it's just gonna be
yeah,
Disney Plus. The
yep,
Hulu is going away. Okay,
yep,
good. Good way to kind of streamline things. We talk about
yeah.
so many different offerings, it's confusing sometimes. So okay. So here's my list. I wish I should have went first because I really don't have much. Like I tell you all the time, I don't have time to watch some of the shows that I want to watch. So definitely at the top of my list is Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. That is the most Star Trek of all of the Star Trek series that I've seen in years,
Yeah.
right? Really love it, really love it. Hadn't started season two, left off with season one, one and more, and just hadn't got around to it. The same with number two on the list is Picard, right? Left season two, one and more. And when I finally got it, just never got around to it. Um, but yeah, everything Star Trek, I love it. That's gonna be the top. Um, I hadn't watched the is it Secret Wars with Nick Fury, the Nick Fury show,
Oh, that was
the
good.
Marvel show.
That was good.
Yeah, yeah. My son keeps telling me he's like, "You need to watch it. You need to watch it." And I watch it. They get ready for Christmas break. Of course, I'll renew the Disney Plus so that I can get all of those in. Um, Paramount Plus, Beavis and Butthead. I know you don't listen to like stuff like that, but that's on my list too. When I get my Paramount Plus. Oh, also Star Trek, not Star Trek. South Park has a new um, has a new special too, and it's one of those shows like Beavis and Butthead. Totally inappropriate. I don't let anyone watch it but me when when I'm here in the room late at night. But those are on my list. So things that I have been watching um, is so I love like of course we cruise and stuff a lot too, but not only that, I love hearing stories about these old cruise ships and things like that. So sort of in the same vein of like true crime stories and stuff like that, where they talk about different events and murders and things like that that happen. Uh, I've been watching a couple of YouTube channels specialized in stories about these old cruise ships that sunk, or not necessarily cruise ships, but just any kind of vessels, period, that sunk, whether it was in World War II, the Hood, um, a lot of the Japanese carriers and stuff they got sank. They actually tie in the story with actual footage and stuff of divers going down and seeing these wrecks and stuff. Of course, the Titanic is one of the most famous ones, the Lusitania, the Britannic, and things like that. So here are these old stories. Andrea Dora was, another really popular ship that sank. So I've been watching a lot of those, and these guys they really put an effort into making these videos as good as they can make them. They're like regular documentaries, 25, 40 minutes or so, depending on the length of the story. They add in a lot of details.
There's a ship in the second episode of Monarch.
Okay, it's a sunken ship that
It's
okay.
not sunk anymore. I don't want to spoil too much, but it did go down as right. It went down with Pearl Harbor, um,
Okay.
but it comes into play. So
All right. Yeah, yeah. See, I love stuff like that. So I've been watching that lately as a kind of end of the day because my day is like it's full. If I'm not running getting supplies or setting someone up at an event or a market or something like that. So just at the end of the night, kind of it's usually the last thing. I usually wake up, you know, 30 minutes or 40 minutes into it and turn the TV off because I realized that I dozed off on it. So it's usually the last thing I watch in the evening. I watch that and I watch those walking videos that I recommended,
yeah,
right? Some of these tourist areas and stuff that seeing these guys walk around the streets of Japan, it's just so it just puts me at ease at night. It just, it helps me relax and I can fall asleep a lot easier. So, and both of those are on YouTube. Right. I watch a lot of Cops and those old episodes of Cops. Weird. I just I watch that. So it's weird because like when she'll be in the shop working with me, and like an episode of Cops go off, and it's playing the music, the Bad Boys. So it has the little theme song. Then it'll go off, and it may play a commercial. Then you'll hear "Welcome to Leaders Lift," and that's like the next thing. So it falls into like the order, and then you'll hear a music video will pop up or something like that, and then it'll go back to Cops, and then the next thing, welcome to Gadgets for Families. Thank you. And the same thing with CNET and Brian Tong, a few other guys that we listen to, Brandon Butch and stuff like that. It like all mixes in. So like, right, I'll go in the shop, I'll hit play, and I'm just getting all of this different information throughout the day. It's kind of crazy. So but, that's pretty much it. Like I said, maybe I should have went first because it was pretty short for me. I have some things that I want to watch, but the main things that I get to watch, that's some of the things that I get to watch. That and some true crime stuff too. I look at a lot of, there's some ladies that actually bought popcorn from me at an event. They have a true crime podcast where they talk about crimes that happen in Houston. So I listen to them. I tune in to those ladies, and pretty cool, pretty cool.
Cool.
Just a past customer. They recommended their show. This was way before you and I started recording, but I listen to those, and just a kind of a Houston kind of twist on the true crime kind of genre.
Cool.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
Well, so for those of you listening, one of the ideas Jason and I have had is to do some bonus content where we talk about some of these shows and maybe a little more
Yeah,
depth or some of the more pop culture stuff. So that if that's something you're interested in, go into the show notes, hit the feedback form, let us know, if there's one of these shows we've talked about that you'd like us to hear more, and I can force Jason to watch, Ahsoka or Secret,
right.
whatever the
Even
Nick
if I can
Fury
get a
one was.
couple of episodes, yeah, a
Yeah.
couple of episodes in, I will do that at least.
Yeah, so let us know on that. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Let us know what you're streaming. If there's anything you think we would like to uh, check it out, I'm always in the market for that. And we are going into, for me at
Right.
least, I'm in the slower time. Jason's in the busier time, but there will definitely be some streaming time for me over the next month or so. And then I'll get
Yeah.
busy in January. Jason will slow down a little bit. So we'll see how that all
Right.
works out. So, all
All
right.
right.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a great day.
Yep. See you next week, guys.